Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Curl up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're
glad
you're
you're
here. Happy listening.
Hey. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom. I'm Callie. I've got Cole and Mecca here with me. Hey guys, how are y'all?
Good morning. I'm great. Beautiful.
I'm here. I'm here this morning.
Cole
It's
needs
been-
some coffee.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle bus this weekend. I have not been sleeping well.
I feel like Mom and I have had that later this week where we're both up all night long. Are you joining the club with us?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'll fall asleep early and only sleep for 2 hours and then just be awake for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Super exciting, huh?
Yeah,
I saw the weirdest, most kind of like creepy deal on Reddit the other day. It was a video and it was called How Couples Met. And so it was a comparison. It's literally a chart of how couples met for every year between 1930 and 2024. And so in 1930, you met via your families and school and friends. And those were the primary ways in which you met your spouse. And online is 0, obviously, because it's 1930. And coworkers is less than 3%. And college is less than 4%. And a bar or restaurant is less than 8%. Church is up there. Neighbors is 12% almost. And then you've got friends, family, and school. Those are your big chunks. And it changes. So it's showing every single year and how those bars change until 2020. It was mind-blowing to me. Freaky. Super weird. It changes so much. I'll have to put a link to the Reddit thread in the show notes, but it is so fascinating and weird how much it has changed over almost 100 years. So now college is less than 1%. Neighbors are less than 1.5%. Church is about 2%. School is about 3%. Family is about 4.5%. Bars and restaurants, which still shocks me. Like, I feel like that's where you would meet people. A very common place to meet people is under 5%. Coworkers is 8.5%. Friends is 13.8%. And what takes the rest of it is online at almost 61%. And I was shook. Am I lame to say that? Is that the millennial
I don't
in me?
think
Like,
so.
has that turned and that's not a thing anymore? No.
you're fine.
I don't know if I'm aging myself all of a sudden. But
So I have to ask first, have either one of you been online?
I tried online dating for a whole hot minute.
Yeah, I remember yours.
Yeah, it was not my favorite thing. I think I went on one online date with a very, very nice guy, and it just was weird.
Why?
I think for me, okay, I have said this about AI and technology and all of this for a long time. No matter how good robots are, and no matter how good the algorithm is so that they can predict what you're going to do or what you need or all of these things, nothing will ever replace a hug from somebody that you love. I feel like that is kind of the case here. And so, as goofy as that sounds, but we spent so much time talking and getting to know each other. And you're like, oh, that's beneficial. That's productive. But by the time that we got face to face, it's like, well, now what? Where do we go from here? We've kind of talked about all of these things. And it's not so much that you feel like you know each other super well. It's like you don't know each other very deeply. And so we're just kind of sitting there.
Do you think expectations were different? I mean, did he not match what you thought he was going to be when you got there?
I think he was exactly who he presented himself as. I think he did a fantastic job of communicating. He was very nice and friendly and chatty and funny and had a good sense of humor. And he presented exactly who he was. And I don't think that that is the norm. I think that I got very lucky in that. Like I said, I went on one date from online dating. I cannot even imagine how multiples would have been. I for sure got the exception, not the rule.
Cole has been very quiet about my question. Should we skip
I,
your answer?
I mean, I have never been on a date that resulted from a connection using an online app or anything like that. In fact, I haven't spent very much time using them. I made a profile on a couple of them last night just to kind of see, hey, what is this about? What's
Ooh.
going on? And like, all right, it's Facebook for strangers. Like, all right.
So what'd you put in your profile? Let Callie and I know so that we can, tell you if you need to change this or not.
I am not the go-to source for this.
Yeah, no, no,
No. Absolutely
no.
not.
Yeah,
What
no.
not to do with online dating? Let your mom write your profile.
I could
Yeah,
write a good profile.
I'm sure you would write a great profile, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of figuring it out for yourself, to be
Oh, that makes
perfectly
sense.
honest with you. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that I guess what I think is really weird is, and now I have cursed myself because every ad I get is, hey, how to use online dating apps. Here's the Wingman app that will tell you what to say. Here's the Fonzie app that will tell you what to say. And I'm just like, what
A
what are you talking
Fonzie
about?
app?
I don't know. It's just an ad I got. And so now I'm getting all of these ads for different dating apps and dating app companions, and I'm just like, why can't we just talk to each other?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if I don't like you, I don't like you. If you don't like me, bummer, dude. Like, whatever. Not the end of the world. I mean, I don't know.
I find
It
it.
doesn't seem very romantic to me, and
Are you a romantic at heart, Cole?
I would say so,
I
yeah.
love that.
And so this kind of digitized, mass-produced version of relationships is kind of off-putting to me.
I get
And
that.
so I just am not all that interested in it, I don't think.
For me, I felt like it felt very forced. And maybe
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's a little different for a woman versus a man, but I feel like there was so much time that I spent kind of guarding my heart, protecting myself. I was not looking for sex. Eventually down the road, sure, but I was not looking directly to this app to find somebody to go have sex with immediately. And even some of the really great profiles that were like, oh no, I'm definitely not DTF. Like, I'm looking for a relationship. And then you would start talking to them and you're like, no, you're lying. Like,
Oh.
what? Like, I started texting with one guy. We never met up, but I started texting with one guy. He wanted to get to texting immediately. Hi, I'm so and so. What's your phone number? And I was like, I mean, but he was a good looking guy with a good job, supposedly. Like, everything seemed like it was supposed to work. And he got my phone number. It was like the first person that I talked to, and I should have known better. And he got my phone number and was immediately like, hey, send me pictures of what you look like. And I'm like, okay, like, you've already seen him on the app, but like, okay. And he's like, oh, that's all. And I was like, what do you want? And I think I made a joke and I was like, what do you want? Like, pictures of my feet? And he was like, that would be great. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I was just joking. You were supposed to find that funny, not sexual. Left. And that's the other thing. I really sucked at remembering which way was which. And so I was like, shit, that's the wrong way. No, 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 no. And then I would panic. And then I got off of online dating because it was just too much for me.
So it would be very interesting to see the percentages within online dating, both male and female, of what's your purpose of being online.
Well, I
You
think
know,
that
is
that's
it
there. That's in a lot of these profiles. What are you looking for?
But the way you said it, it's almost like you anticipate that people are going to lie to you about what their goal is.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I think there's this connotation with the internet. I mean, yeah, your name is on your Facebook, but it's still anonymous to some extent. You can still be this totally different person online, and you don't have to represent who you really are. You can kind of say whatever you want and do whatever you want with almost zero consequences. And I feel like it's pretty much the same for a dating app or dating online. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's really easy to fake it.
Yeah.
So at 61% today, give me your predictions. Let's go in the next 30 years. With AI, do you think we'll still be up there in that percentage or higher or lower?
Of how people meet. Is it acceptable if I say I hope not?
Well, sure, it's acceptable, but that means you think that it is.
I think that the internet was supposed to, in a lot of ways, connect us and bring us closer together and bring us more intimately into each other's lives so that we could connect and find common ground. I don't think that has been its only purpose. Its only
Yeah, I
use.
started to say there have been some good ones. I mean, you think about the people who can transfer pictures up to the grandparent who's a long ways away instantaneously. Text messaging, but it so much has changed. And like Cole said, that anonymity has allowed us to say things that you would never say in person.
Well, and I don't think that the rest of society has kind of kept up with that. So I think that there's been such a movement about authenticity and being who you are, and it's okay. You're great exactly the way that you are. Love your body, no body shaming, like everybody's wonderful, which I feel like looking back even right now kind of feels like a participation award that everybody complains about. Like not everybody gets a trophy, so not everybody is lovable. If that sounds great. Horrible.
I don't know. I'm really concerned about how you said that because it's almost like you are shaming someone.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not trying to shame, but I think that we have to find and strike a balance between being a keyboard warrior and being authentic. And I think that the internet has allowed people to kind of in lots of ways be themselves, say that thing that you really think that you might get judged for, or somebody might reach over and smack you if you're actually in the room. But then it hasn't kept up, like that same concept mentality hasn't kept up in real life. So you're online being one personality, everything's great, and I get to say exactly what I want and be who I am, and I'm exactly who I am. And then in reality, that's not who we are. And I think that that's the same for kind of all of us. Good or bad, right or wrong, big or small. I think that we have different personas online than we do in real life. It's a protection of anonymity if your name's attached to it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that one.
So I think that it's like I'm going to go back to when I went on that date with the guy I met online. We were the exact same people who we were online and we were having fun, but there was a lot of nervousness. Are we still going to like each other in person the same way we did online? Or is this just really awkward and now we're just being really awkward? And I don't really know and trust that I can be who I was online with you when we were talking and having fun. I don't know that I trust that I can do that in real life. And again, I have no bad things to say about the guy that I went on this date with. Like, he was wonderful.
And did you only go on one date?
Only one date.
Why? Did y'all agree not to?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago now. I don't remember, but I feel like it just kind of naturally fizzled out. It was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, and I feel like that is going to be the case. Like, to me, I feel like if you're using online dating, you're no longer using like genuine connection and building. You're playing a numbers game to get to that point. It's just how many can I get through until I find one that fits.
Yeah, that is accepting of what it is I'm offering.
Yeah, and
I think playing that numbers game is hard.
Yeah, because I think that we view it differently. Like, particularly men versus women. I mean, I think that we think about it differently. And so, like, for me, be nice to me, be cool, eating new foods. I'd like to go to the movies every once in a while and don't be dumb, preferably. And like other than that, like, cool, let's do this. There needs to be some amount of physical attraction. Outside of that, I'm all good. But like, I don't really care what you do for work. You're, I don't really mind what your political opinion is, as long as we can have a conversation about it and like talk through it and not hate each other because we think different things. Like, I think that's okay.
I was thinking, I think that would be hard for you in some ways to have somebody who is diametrically opposed, but you clarified that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I get really annoyed by people in person if they're annoying, and so maybe I just like, I think a lot of people are annoying, and so maybe I just kind of have that concept already in the back of my head. And when you're playing a numbers game and you already think 70% of people are annoying, what's going to happen when you go try and interact with more people, more annoying people?
But you have a 30% chance of something good coming up too.
Sure, but if you don't interact with anyone, then you have a 0% chance of adding annoying people to your list.
This is true.
I don't know, Cole, you are not a hermit who sits in your house. Like, you have to drive. So even if you're not speaking to somebody face to face, like, you're still yelling at them in the car. I know you. You're still interacting with them.
Yeah.
But see, I'm not. I'm commentating on them being an idiot. I'm not actually interacting with that person. They're not learning anything from it.
There's a distinction.
That's true. That's true. So I wanted to ask really quick, Mom, how long have you and Dad been married?
39 years.
And will you walk us through how y'all met? Because that was, I hate to be an asshole, pre the internet.
It was pre-internet. I was working with his sister, and I was living in Dallas. And honestly, she decided that I needed to move, that it would be better for me. And I don't even remember looking for an apartment or anything like it. Just the next thing I know, I was moving. And she said, my brother has a truck. Well, she had asked me one time what I was looking for, in a prospective mate. And I said, oh, I'm looking for a 3-piece suit, somebody who's, on the, ladder to success. And I remember her shaking her head and go, oh, that's not my brother. He's more of a flannel shirt kind of guy. And I go, yep, nope. And I mean, I'm 5'8", so that used to be my thing. Is if somebody wanted to match me up, all I had to say was, well, how tall are they? And if they were, if they were 5'4", forget that. and she answered and she said, he's 6'4", and so I didn't even know how to get out of it. I was, and so that was where this 3-piece suit came from, was just off the cuff of my head. And then she said, oh, he's really flannel shirt. And I thought, oh. But then when I moved, she volunteered him to help me move because he had a pickup truck, and he did move lots of people back in those days. He, that was kind of like a normal thing to move a friend to another apartment from here to there. And so I had not met him. And we went to her house one day, and he and a buddy were standing outside, leaning up against their trucks. And she walked over and said, hey, I need you to help her move next weekend. And I mean, that's the equivalent of saying, hey, Mom, can so-and-so come over to play, when you're standing right there in front of them and you don't want them to come. And he just, in normal fashion, said, sure. And I was embarrassed because she'd put him on the spot. And he said after that the buddy said, hey, she's kind of cute. And so he helped me move. My parents also came down. This will make y'all laugh. And everything went wrong that morning. The truck that I'd rented was unavailable. So we ended up with a flatbed trailer. So I was scared about that. And your dad just handled it. He was really cool. My dad, who is a typical type A, who cannot slow down and do things normally, your dad would take things literally out of his hands that were too much for him to carry and take care of it. And he never was insulting about it. He just took care of it. And so we were on the last load. It was Dad driving, me in the middle, and my dad And I reached over and tapped your dad on the knee and said, "Thank you for helping me do this today." And we got to my new apartment and I slid out of the truck and my dad literally grabbed me by the shoulders on the other side of the truck and said, "You don't ever do that to me. You'll get ideas." And I thought it was the stupidest thing I had ever heard in my life.
Talking about putting your hand on his knee.
Yes. And however, 6 months later, we were married.
Like, you got some ideas.
No comment.
I hate to tell you this, but your dad was right.
Really?
Yes.
Just
Physical contact is a massive thing for men in general. Just, it is. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't even have to be sexual.
I started to say, because I'm kind of a toucher, that's kind of normal for me. I'm going to touch your arm if I'm speaking to you, or, that's weird.
Sorry to tell you this, but that is just a stimulus that men respond to.
Okay, so as normal, it's all your dad's fault.
Okay, but here, I have one more question. Who was the friend?
Eddie.
Okay, I was going to say, because Dad's still friends with like all of his old friends. And so I was really curious as to which one. This wasn't just some random dude that he doesn't know anymore. Like, this has to be a good friend of his.
Yeah. This was his best running buddy.
Oh, thanks, Eddie. You are kind of cute, Mom. That's funny. So that leads me to my next kind of question. How do we currently pick partners? I feel like online dating lends itself to picking them based on characteristics. Oh, he's over 6 feet tall. He is this, he is this, he is this. He looks like this, he works out. Like, we're picking based on characteristics rather than their actual character. Because I personally don't believe that those are the same thing.
No, they're definitely not the same things. I mean, there's a start there, I think, with, like Cole said, physical attraction.
Mm-hmm.
There's a piece of that goes with it.
Do you get that looking at a photograph of somebody online? I would tell you that Pierce Brosnan is my celebrity crush. I can watch a movie with him and not want to take my pants down. I enjoy looking at him, and that's enough for me.
Would you clarify that statement? Because it sounded really weird.
I can watch a movie without wanting to take my pants down?
Yeah, okay. Without wanting to have sex. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I don't know. Like, the number one thing for me is don't be annoying, don't be stupid. Like, I can't do it with people that can't hold a conversation. And it doesn't have to be a conversation about specific things. It can just be random conversations. But if your entire personality is like one specific aspect, that's pretty, like, in this context, I don't really want to use the term shallow because it has a different meaning generally in this context. But like, if your personality is really shallow,
there's no depth there.
Yeah. Like, then, like, here's the other thing that I think is really difficult about online dating is there's no way to judge what kind of baggage that person might have from the get-go.
Interesting.
And so you get yourself into a situation with a crazy person because they had some nice pictures and were intelligent enough to write a decent bio. And so you're like, oh, this person seems cool, but this person is a psychopath. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't have a whole lot of experience with online dating. And I think part of that probably is because it seems like so much effort. I mean, yeah, eventually the return there works out, but I don't know. I'm really lazy and I don't like talking to most people. And so I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be my thing.
And I feel like in so many ways, prior to the internet, the world was so much smaller. And so when you went to the grocery store and you saw a cute person that made sense, like, you might have a conversation with them, you might say something, and you might strike up a chat. The invention of the internet, especially post-COVID, when was the last time you were actually in a grocery store? Like, presenting yourself with an opportunity to be around somebody who maybe they're annoying, maybe they're not, but to be around them at all. To give yourself or them the opportunity to strike up a conversation.
I don't know, maybe I'm the weird one here, but like when I go to the grocery store, I'm not looking for interaction at all. Like I'm there to get my stuff and get out.
I'm there to get my stuff and get out. But if there's a man who smells good, I'm following his ass all over the store. All over the store. And then, even still today, the man that I ended up with, he smells good. And I like that. I was at least trying to present an opportunity to be like, oh, sorry, you wanted this cheese? I'll give you the cheese.
I hear that.
It never happened. I didn't give anybody the cheese at the grocery store, Mom. Don't
Good.
worry.
Good. I don't know, Cole. Maybe we need to work on you paying more attention when you're at the grocery store.
I also feel like online has taken and made all of our likes and dislikes so much quieter. I can go over here and sit in this subsect of the internet with my people, and that's enough for me. I don't have to go and explore this or try this or figure this out or see how this is what I want, so that's what I'm going to go and get. And so
see, I think that's a real mistake. You know,
I agree.
Cole has made a comment before about what women his age are looking for at this point. And I'm sure I would misquote it if I tried to repeat it, but that women have real specifics and that if you don't meet those specifics, they're not interested in you at all. And that's really a shame. That's a loss, because just because you think you want X doesn't mean that's the best thing for you or the only thing available. I mean, go back to the 3-piece suit and the flannel shirt. I might not have been looking for a flannel shirt, but I couldn't have picked somebody better than your dad to love me and understand me.
Yeah.
And so if I'd narrowed that completely down to that 3-piece suit, I would have missed a golden opportunity.
Yeah. Which is why I think that we, especially with online dating and things like that, you're going based on characteristics versus character. You don't get to see it.
Yeah.
This is who I am in 140 characters, so that you know exactly who my character is. And now do you like me? Please, do you like me?
Not with people.
I also am very curious as to if Dad has ever written you love letters.
Sure he has.
Really?
Why does that surprise you?
It's not that it surprises me. It's that I'm kind of jealous. It makes me think of that scene in the Sex and the City movie where Carrie goes to Big and she's like, have you ever written me a love letter? And he's like, a love fax, maybe. I mean, like, I might get a love text.
Yeah, I've gotten love letters.
A love letter. Oh, my God. A love letter.
Which is a lot from
handwritten.
your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal with your dad because he's a man of few words in many ways. And so for him to sit down and write something.
Hence why he's not on the podcast.
One reason, yeah.
We were watching the movie Queen Pins. That it's Kristen Bell and Vince Vaughn, a couple of other people you would know, but it's like a coupon scam that they're running. And Vince Vaughn works for the post office, and he, like, everybody's downtrodden and they're never going to figure out the case as to who's doing all of this fraud with these coupons. And he hands the guy a love letter from World War I. And he reads it to him. They're on an airplane all depressed, and he reads it to him, and he's like, oh my God, did he survive? Did he make it back to her? I've got to know. And he's like, we'll never know. We'll never know. I thought about it in that moment. I have nothing to leave behind like that.
It's because y'all are not sentimental.
It's okay. I'll give you that we may not be sentimental, which we've already discussed, even on this podcast, that we're not sentimental. We're just not sentimental the way that you think sentimental is supposed to look. But okay, fine. But still, like, even if we were sentimental, like, we wouldn't have love letters. You have a brick of an iPhone that may have some interesting text messages somewhere in it.
How about another question for you? Did you ever write any love letters in response to Dad's love letters?
Good question.
To ask him that, which would be so weird because I am such a wordsmith that would be odd if I've not, but I cannot call one.
Which also surprises me. So, as goofy as this is, and the two of you know this, but anybody listening doesn't know, but I think that I am hungry for that type of interaction. And so what I had asked for, what was it, almost 2 years ago for my birthday, was I wanted sweet notes. And the two of you came to my house and hid, I have no idea how many, all over my house when I stepped out to go to the grocery store. And I still, to this day, find them regularly. I forgot to tell you guys, I found some when I was cleaning out the pantry the other day. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. My favorite one is when you were on top of the world and you found that one and it's blowing
In my pocket. Yeah.
in the wind.
Yeah. A jacket that I
Mom,
hadn't worn.
I found this today. And you were in Moab on top of the world.
Yep.
Isn't that what it's called?
Yep. That's it. Those would be my things. I keep them. I have a whole little stash of them, but they
But
were
I
so
think
important
that's,
to me.
you know, and a lot of people poo-poo this, but I think it's really true. The love languages really are significant. And I think one of the things that has made your dad and I successful at being married for so long is that we, which is a rarity, but we have the same love language,
Right.
which Cole Garrett happens to be touch. But
Which you're never going to get in online dating until you're in person.
exactly. Yeah, good point. But I think that has something to do with who attracts you is if they speak the language that you're wanting to hear, and you can't always do that on the internet.
And I think that the language has changed. Like, yes, we're all speaking English, but the language has changed. Like
Why do you say
now,
that?
when you're serious about somebody, I don't know what it is. This is my millennial showing again, but it used to be like you were Facebook official and that meant you were actually dating. Whereas previously you guys were going steady, or there was a conversation between you and your parents, or them and your parents saying, hey, these are my intentions with your daughter, and the shotgun is sitting there to make sure that this boy knows what is expected of him and for him to be a gentleman and all of this. And now, I mean, people enter relationships, serious relationships, before even meeting families.
Well, that's interesting. What I hear you say is, which is not what you said, but where my brain went is, I think people today jump into sex really fast, and and that definitely changes a relationship. And then you're kind of there, and you don't know how to get out of it because, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it, but there's nothing really good with it. But you're living together, and you're so close to living together. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But it
No.
seems like sex is a bigger deal now than it was when I was dating.
Can you expound on that a little bit? Because I would tell you that sex is more casual,
Yeah.
more
And I think,
commonplace now than it ever was before.
and that's exactly what I mean. Because growing up, when I was a kid, you weren't supposed to have sex.
Mhm.
And, especially a girl was supposed to wait.
As
And
dictated
so,
by society.
as dictated by society. And I think now, and I think a lot of people would like to attribute that to women's liberation, and I disagree with that. I don't think that's where it came from. But the stigma of having sex has definitely gone away to a large part. I mean, the same as this Reddit deal about how much is online and did you meet your spouse in the church. So I think that stigma has gone away, and sex is not as important. It's casual, common. And so, I mean, I think a lot of you today have multiple partners, and so it means less.
I
Y'all
feel
are
like
both sitting there looking at me in the weirdest ways.
Well, I feel like I just got called a skank by my mom on the internet. We'll have to rewind the tape because it was something along the lines of, you guys have more partners now. And I was like, oh,
You
ouch.
do, but that doesn't mean that you're a skank. That just
Yeah, I mean it's
that doesn't mean you're a
factual.
skank. Yeah, thanks,
How,
boo.
I mean, how many people have you dated in your life, Mom?
I love
Not
her eyes getting wide.
not very many. One ofs, not randoms like y'all think randoms, but one off.
Sure.
Skank.
Yeah, and so I mean,
And
I'm
Gig, how many have you dated? Boo, how many have you dated?
4?
I would say you're an outlier, Callie, for
That's
our
probably true.
generation, and I would say that I probably am too on the low side. But I mean, I don't know, 10 to 15, maybe, probably closer to 10.
And I do think y'all are on the outlier side because
Yeah.
neither one of you seriously dated in high school. I mean, Boo, you did probably your senior year. So yeah,
But
I
that was
think
the only one in high school.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so I think y'all probably are outliers on that.
Yeah. But if you and I go talk about our friends, Callie, how many people have our friends dated?
I have no idea.
I mean, I can think of multiple people on both sides of the gender line within my relatively small friend group that are easily into the 50s and 60s.
Serious? I'm exhausted.
Tell me
Didn't
about
even have
it.
to show up. I think that you're probably right. Cole and I are probably the outliers. I think that that has to do with our upbringing and the things that we value in another person and in relationships and the way that we go about finding those people. And
Yeah, not even just finding them, but also cultivating those relationships.
that's a
I
much
think
better word. Yes.
we handle differently.
Yes, I would agree with that completely. I mean, but I also think like I never, ever, ever remember in the entirety of my life feeling pressured by you guys to you need to go and get married and have babies and do this. You know, like even when I got married, I feel like society, especially as a woman, society is always like, okay, when are you having kids? When are you having kids? When are you having kids? And
Yeah.
you've never, ever, A, asked me that, or B, put that kind of pressure on me that that was the expectation. And so I just haven't done that. But I just think that the way that my mom was never the person who was reliant on a man, but also unreliant on a man either, if that makes sense. Like you and dad just were a unit who worked together to move forward and to keep going.
You had a friend when you were in high school whose mom pushed her into relationships because that's the only place that she saw her with value is if she had another person.
Right.
And I wanted you to know that it was more important for you to be you.
Yeah. You had a worth and value in your own right.
I mean, because I think when you bring that to the table, when you bring that kind of confidence to the table, you make a better relationship. If you do this kind of relationship thing that you're relying on the other person to make you right or to make you who you want to be, you're screwed. That
Yeah.
ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it just isn't. So you got to come as who you are. We all have baggage. We all have baggage. So, and Cole, I understand your statement earlier, but the goal is when you bring baggage to the relationship that either you've acknowledged that baggage and you're working on it and you're going to take care of it. You can't let the baggage be your excuse, and you certainly cannot let or expect the other person to take care of your baggage.
Right. To carry it for you.
Yeah.
It makes me think about that whole kind of thing about opposites attract, because I feel like there's so much to be said for finding somebody who complements you and who has different skills than you so that you can have a more diverse skill set amongst the two of you, amongst your family. As goofy as that sounds, I think that that's a really good thing. But I think that there's so much nuance, especially in interpersonal relationships. There's so much nuance that not only are you not expecting somebody to carry your baggage, not only are you working through it and doing your own thing and figuring it out so that you can heal from that and you can carry it yourself, but also somebody who is willing to sit there and watch you flounder and to be able to jump up and hold you when you need it or hug you and
Still
say,
love
hey,
you.
keep going. You can
Yeah.
do this. Hey, how can I help? I'm not trying to do it for you, but how can I help you?
Yeah.
And if it's you, a direct reflection of you, and it's not your compliment, it's not your opposite, you're both doing the same thing. And you need a more varied plan.
You know, I've watched Cole, and Cole, I don't know that I would have called him a romantic, but I definitely think that he is a protector. And I think sometimes he gets overly protective, and I get that. I understand that. I think I do that as a mom, even, with you guys, but you can overdo any of those traits, personality traits. And so I think you have to really pay attention. And I mean, we can call it baggage, but sometimes it's our strength.
Yeah.
Because that's a great thing about Cole.
Yeah.
I know I can always count on him.
Yep.
He is always going to come to not rescue, but to help when I need help. And
Right.
all it takes is, but I could also be very abusive of that, and I could call him on a daily basis, and I
Take
could
advantage.
expect him to take care of everything for me. And so you have to find that person who's not going to take advantage, and you have to be really aware of your own traits and say, I can't overcompensate for this. And there are things that I've overcompensated for your dad in our relationship, because he's not good with his words. Sometimes I've jumped in to be his voice, and it was wrong because he didn't learn how to have his own voice or to speak his own voice, or I got in the way of something that I didn't need to get in the way of. And so, I mean, it's the same thing. You just have to
That's the balance that is
counterbalance.
living life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are never going to be perfect, no matter how hard we try. We are never going to always know every single answer every time.
I'm really close. I just
too.
wanted, I knew Cole was going to jump in there and say something, and so I just wanted to be the first one to.
I love it. I love it. But
Does that remind you of your papa? I thought I was wrong once, but I wasn't.
Is that where I get that from?
That is definitely where you get that from.
So there's one point you have here on our subject, on our topic guide today, Gig, that I thought was pretty interesting, and it's, is chivalry dead? And
Sure. Okay, first, what is chivalry? What do y'all think that is? And is it one-sided? Is it only the males who can be chivalrous?
good question.
I think that there are a couple of different ways that you can define chivalry or someone being chivalrous. And while I certainly think it's possible for women to be chivalrous, I typically don't think that that is a trait that men are looking for in women. And so I think the general consensus on chivalry at this point is being a gentleman. And I have seen this discussed several times on different podcasts about chivalry being dead. But one of the concepts that I have seen pretty regularly is that the perspective seems to have changed. So women want a chivalrous man. They want a gentleman. And men tend to lean to want a more traditional woman, but that is not something that is encountered very much these days. I just think the societal perspective, particularly here in the U.S., is very different. And so I think for my generation, a traditional woman is someone more like yourself, Mom, who, is educated and works and also provides for their family. And I think that is different than what your generation's definition of a traditional woman would have been. And guys in my generation want that prior definition of a traditional woman.
You just taken my emotions all over the place. I just want you to know.
Well,
you
I'm
said
so
traditional
curious.
woman, and I thought, what the hell does he mean about that? And because I was literally would get up and kick your ass. But I think now I understand maybe a little bit. I mean, are you when you say traditional woman that you think men want today, is that the stay-at-home mom who's going to have food on the table and raise the kids and not ask any questions.
I think that's what a lot of guys in my generation are looking for. Yes.
Oh, good luck, dude. That ain't going to happen very much. And if it does, I'm going to say this. If it does happen, I'm going to feel sorry for you, because that is not a woman who's going to partner with you very well.
I was just going to say
Ooh,
I would be disappointed in those women.
I'm going to get in so much trouble over that, for saying that. But I think it's really important for a woman to have her own identity, to be a partner. And every relationship defines that partnership differently. You know, that, because I'm not saying staying at home and being a mom is bad. That is not what I'm saying. But if that's your only expectation, then that is bad.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. We're more than that. Women have more to offer, and men in general would be. We're talking about heterosexual relationships here, not because they're the best or any. That's just what we know.
True.
So just for the disclaimer. But I think that, like, in general, I see what you're saying. Like, if that is all that your expectation is and all that you're looking to get out of it, you're missing out on a lot of goodness and a lot of other capabilities that even as a man you could leverage for yourself and you would benefit from. And so to put a woman in a box and say, hey, you just get to be the mom and you just get to make the babies and feed them and keep the house clean would be...
I think one of the reasons some of the guys in my generation feel that way is because we have a much more traditional standard that we're being held to.
Can you explain that?
Well, we're supposed to open the door for you. We're supposed to get you flowers without being asked. We're supposed to be over 6 foot. We're supposed to work out every day. We're supposed to be the breadwinner for the family. These are the things that are being asked of us, which is
Nicole,
a pretty standard patriarchal role.
I think those are wrong.
I'm not saying either of this is right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this is what it is, what
It's
people
very
seem to be
limited.
looking for.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
very limiting and in my opinion, beyond expectation.
Which is why I haven't dated anyone in almost 3 years. Over 3 years at this point, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, I'm just saying the situation that as it stands, not that it's right or wrong.
And it's funny because when you say chivalry to me, the first thing that I think of is that the women who get mad at you, but I can open my own door. And to me, that's not it at all. I'm going to open the door for people too, if they're behind me or they're coming in, because that's polite society. That's just courtesy. And so I think that's part of it. And bringing the flowers, to me, where I want that to come from is simply you want to do something nice that I'll enjoy. And let me just say, your dad doesn't bring flowers. And if he does, they're from Walmart. So I'm not sure that they count when they come from Walmart. Sorry, Walmart.
Why not?
I think that's a total bogus thing.
Because they're not cute flowers.
Well, then he needs to be a better picker.
You're right.
You should tell him, I'll go get my own flowers.
Which I do. I was being, okay, y'all have chastised me, and you're correct. I would be fine with Walmart flowers if that was, hey, I saw these, and I thought you would enjoy them. I know you like flowers. That would be fine. And would I expect that from him every day? But here's the other thing. Your dad does a million things for me over the course of a week just because that's who he is, or he knows that I will like it. That expectation of you're going to bring me flowers every week is just off.
Okay, I think a couple of things are true. Number one, I think that your question about chivalry and whether or not it's expected from women was really interesting. So, and what it specifically is. And I feel like I could define it in my brain, but once you asked me to say it out loud, I kind of stumbled and I was like, oh, shoot, how do I express that? Because it is more than just holding a door open for a woman, or it is more than laying your coat down in a puddle for an old lady to cross the street kind of thing. Like, it's more than that. So I went and Googled it really quick, and I was kind of shocked because it's not something that I knew. So first, before I read you the actual definition, I'm going to read you the AI overview as Google has it, because I thought it
I
was
love this.
fascinating. Chivalry has multiple meanings, including a set of rules for knights in the Middle Ages and a more general term for polite and honorable behavior. Then the actual definition, as per Oxford Dictionary, is the medieval knightly system with its religious, moral, and social code. Historical knights, noblemen, and horsemen collectively. And then it even says, like, there's another one down here from the Cambridge Dictionary. What does it mean to be chivalrous? Very polite, honest, and kind behavior, especially by men towards women. So I never had thought about it in terms of like as a social code, like your bro code or man code or girl code. Or I've never thought about it as that. I would tell you it's more kind of a way of like a general way of life and of kindness and
Oh, okay.
decency.
But isn't that a code?
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that kind of the same thing?
It is. It absolutely is. I just didn't think about it as a code, which I feel like makes more sense when you think about it as a code. Like, oh, this is the code by which I'm going to live my life. This is the standard, and I'm going to not deviate from this because this is what I believe. I wasn't thinking about it being a belief system. I was thinking about it more being an attitude, I think, as goofy as that sounds. So I think that that's interesting, that even by definition, it is intended to be from a man to other people, from the man's perspective to other people. I'm really curious, and I'll do some more reading. Like, is there a female version of chivalry? Like, what's the female version? Like, is there a name
But
for that?
I think
don't
there
know.
is, because if you do it as a code of what you're going to live by and where your morals lie, then that's not male female.
I agree. I totally agree. So then it kind of goes back into, well, if the expectation is that a woman is supposed to be this, Mom and I've had this conversation before about like it's a phase right now. It's a fad. I feel like we're in the fact it actually in fact moving out of it, but it's still a fad of the trad wife, and me having to explain to Mom what that was here several months ago and all of this. Like, a traditional housewife or a traditional wife is different than not, and is not that a trad wife is not going to get mad at you for opening the door because she can do it herself. Of course she can do it herself, but she appreciates that. And so then I start thinking of that like also as a code, because I'm thinking about this differently now, right? So, okay. But I think that those expectations are different, and I think that they're bigger than what you guys are both giving each other credit for, like other sexes for. So I think that a traditional relationship or a traditional wife right now is you're going to work as well, and you're going to contribute to this family, and you're going to raise the kids, and I'm going to help you with those as the man, but that's primarily your job. And these are traditional roles that men do versus women do, so we're going to kind of keep that, and I'll do the yard work and you do the cooking, and I'll do this and you do that. I think that the moment that you from either side put the expectation of anything above and beyond that on your partner or on the other person, I think that that's wrong. The moment that you expect him to bring you flowers, or what you said a couple of times, for him to bring me flowers every week, that there's an expectation there. I'm not saying that dad's failing or any of this, or that you have an expectation, but that it's every week. Or you said a minute ago, like, does he bring me flowers? Well, only from Walmart. Well, I was sitting here giggling because Ryan has brought me flowers from one of those people at the intersection who's selling flowers, and I'm thrilled.
I started saying, I love those.
Better than Walmart flowers. They're probably not even as good as Walmart flowers, but it's the thought that counts, right? Like, hey, I went outside of my normal routine. I was thinking about you and how important you are, and this is the way that I'm going to show you that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that matters and counts, and we should not diminish it in any capacity, right? In my personal belief.
But it isn't flowers for every woman.
No, that's what I was going to say. It isn't flowers for everybody. And it isn't flowers for every wife, and it isn't babies for every man. Like, you're going to have my babies. Like, there are other things that you could put in there.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say for most of the women that I know who I think today would be defined as trad wives, all have a hustle on the side.
Oh, yeah.
they're not doing 9 to 5 jobs, and you might not call it a career, but they all have some kind of a side hustle. And that may be an influencer online, or, I can think of one lady specifically who is doing kind of a nonprofit for young girls where she's bringing girls together and, teaching them concepts and encouragement, and, is growing up with her own children and helping those friends. So, I mean, it's hard to say. I just think it has to come from that partnership again. If this is what she wants to do and this is where she gets fulfilled by being a mom at home, that's great. But I don't know of any woman who can start or should start out thinking, that's all I want to do. That's all I'm going to be. And if I don't find this person who's going to, support me while I do that, gosh, I think you're looking for trouble there.
I do think that those women exist, and I do not think that every trad wife has a side hustle.
I'm just thinking of the ones that I know that I would consider trad wives. Stay-at-home moms.
Yeah. And I think that we've got to kind of relax our expectations. I think that going back to the love languages thing is really, really pertinent here. Know your partner. Know your spouse, girlfriend, bang friend, whatever it is, hook up, whatever it is. Know them. Know who they are and know what is important to them and important to you, and then show them. And making that a priority when you can. And that is going to vary from one relationship to the next and from one person to the next. And I think that that's okay. But I think that you'll only know it when you know the person.
I was going to ask you if you think, can you make every relationship that are there certain relationships that have greater potential?
There are certain relationships that have greater potential. I mean, because that has to do with the people that are in them.
I want to go back to what you were saying a minute ago, Callie, about kind of the expectations. I think our society at this point has gotten to where these relationships are so transactional that it's not about getting to know the other person. It's about getting to know them enough to understand that you can tolerate them, and then both sides expecting something from the other.
That is the saddest thing I think I've ever heard.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but that's kind of what it seems like. I mean, do you have a house and a car? Can you provide shelter? Can you give me the children that I want? Can you keep the lights on and food in the fridge? Are you this tall or this attractive or have these kind of physical features? Will you let me do this once a week? It's not a team effort. It's not trying to build a team. It's trying to find someone who will provide X, Y, and Z and tolerate you.
I agree. I think in a lot of ways that's the case. And I also agree with Mom. I think that that's really sad because you're sitting here listing those questions off. Can you provide? Can you do this? Can you tolerate me? And the entire time I was sitting there cringing going, that's not what it's about at all. That's not it at all. And it kind of broke my heart in that moment because I'm sitting here going, what about like the relationship as a whole? How does that work and function and thrive? Because it's not about, can you tolerate me? And that automatically means, at least in my brain, that you're more important than me or that I'm more important than you. There's something in there that makes me go, hold on, wait, I have to value myself. Can I tolerate you? Can I be tolerated by you?
Well, you know what, Callie? I think that's a really good point. Cole, I think you need to flip this camera around and say not what they are expecting from you, but what you're expecting from them.
It becomes like a really one-sided thing. I know that's what you're saying, Cole. He's nodding for those of you who are listening. He's nodding heavily. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that does a disservice to both parties, the relationship, and society as a whole, that this is how it is. And that part makes me really sad because there's so much more, like, one person doesn't get to run everything. I have said to Ryan, he's going to murder me for saying this. Our relationship is not a dictatorship. It just isn't. And that is something that we've had to work on. He is a strong-willed, powerful, excitable man. And we have had to work and mold ourselves and mold our day-to-day lives and activities, simple things, making up the bed, what that looks like, tasks, simple tasks, to be what fits for us and what works for us. And this is going to take all of the love out of it. And I don't mean for it to be, but I think that a relationship should be a negotiation from both sides coming to the table saying, here's where
I don't think that takes love out of that.
It just makes it really, like Cole said, everything's so transactional. And I think that makes it sound really transactional. But my goal is that both parties are active and present and involved in determining what makes sense for us as a whole.
Yeah, you have to be a team.
You have to be a team.
And I don't feel like it's looked at in that manner right now. It's you have to be on my team.
Right. Which always means that somebody else has the upper hand. Whether you're the upper hand or not, somebody has it and somebody does it. And I feel like that does not a relationship make. Not
I
a good one,
completely
at least.
agree.
So if 60% of meeting is online and we're finding that those relationships are shallow, are transactional, what's the alternative? What's the other path?
When you figure it out, let's put a podcast episode about it and a book, and we'll be bazillionaires. The two millennials and moms matchmaker process. But I think that that's kind of the big question, right? How do we have and find meaningful relationships that are beneficial for both parties? Like, I don't think that it should matter. I'm going to go political for a second. Again, this is Tim Walz. Mind your own damn business. What works for you is fine. And so if this is the relationship that you want and it works for both of you and you're both excited and happy to contribute to whatever relationship you guys have decided, and it looks different than what I think should be or different than what somebody else feels or wants, okay, who cares? It's not mine. It's yours. If that's what works for your relationship, good for you. And I don't think that we do a very good job of encouraging not individualism, but
it's almost like we want things always look the same, and relationships shouldn't look the same.
yeah, change is hard.
And so I was at a party last night with a friend who's been living with her significant other for several years, raising several kids. And another friend walked over and said, "Are you married yet? You need to marry that guy." And it hurt me for them to say that to her, because I thought, how does she respond to that? A, it's none of your damn business, Tim. And the pressure that it puts on them, even to just respond, that I thought, how does that feel to her? How does she feel in a room full of people when that's the one thing they're focused on?
Well, and what happens if the answer is yes? Now I'm acceptable to you? Yes, we're married now, so now you'll leave me alone about it?
Or what are you going to pick on me next
What are you
about?
going to bug me for next? And which is why I go back to what I said earlier. I think we've got to get rid of all of these expectations. I expect you to be married. I expect you to have kids. I expect you to do this. I expect it to look like my view of a relationship for you. And that's not fair.
That's the clue. My expectation for your stuff.
Right. And I think that it's the same for inside of your relationship and outside of your relationship, from those external factors kind of weighing in, saying, hey, I don't think that your relationship, I won't acknowledge your relationship as good or real or decent, whatever it is, acceptable to me until you're married. Like, why? It's not for you.
Cool. Have fun.
Yeah. Has nothing to do with you. And so we've just got to, again, Mom, I would like to commend you, because I think that you've done a fantastic job, at least with me, not having those expectations, of not pushing those expectations on me, saying, Callie, you're 33 years old. You need to go have babies now. Hell, I cried with you about it earlier this week, how excited I am about that and how much I want that. And you just got with me.
Because
And I'm
it's not
thankful.
my decision.
I know, but a lot
I
of
don't
people
think
don't know
I don't
that.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people think that way,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest with you. I think that is not the norm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want you both to be happy. It would delight me to see Cole in a positive, complementary relationship. I get onto myself because that isn't what's going to make him
Great.
him or great or acceptable. That's not it. It's just I know the benefit of having that other person who's got your back all of the time.
Your teammate.
Yes. I mean, it's not just about being lonely. It's about an opportunity to breathe. Here's how I can put it. When you guys were little, there were just times that I had to say, okay, they're yours today. You take them because I'm at the end of my rope and I can't. And your dad would do that. You know, there was a long time that we sponsored a group for single parents, single people, most of whom were parents. And they have my utmost respect because I cannot imagine doing that. I cannot imagine how hard it is to have children and not have backup right there with you. And so it isn't that I expect Cole to get married or have a spouse. It's that I want him to have a good relationship with someone.
So you said something a minute ago that I just want to touch on and kind of ask you for a little bit of clarification. You said a minute ago that you don't want him to be lonely. I think that you can be lonely in a relationship.
Absolutely.
So it's not so much that you don't want him to be lonely. And sometimes I want to be alone. You said it the other day. I needed a minute away from your dad so that I could read my book and not mess with him. Like sometimes lonely gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
But
I think there's a difference between lonely and alone.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. That's true. And so I just want to make sure that that's really clear. Like, you can be lonely in a relationship. Like, a relationship doesn't solve all of your problems. Even the best relationship doesn't solve all of your problems. But I also think, I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this. I also think that this is an opportunity for you, Mom, to kind of drop your expectations. Yeah. What if he's really happy with his life? What if he likes it the way that it is? What if things are great for him? And what if a partner isn't what he wants? I'm not saying that you don't. I'm not saying that
And I'm okay with that.
But
And I was thinking about that while we were sitting here talking. If that's what he wants, that's totally and perfectly fine with me. Now, will I always, and I think this is part of it, because your dad has been so significant in my relationship, it is hard for me to not want that same for you. And in my head, that definition is a partner.
Yeah.
And that may not be accurate.
Yeah, no, and I think I agree with Mom here, and I think that's kind of what she was trying to say, is that she doesn't expect that of me, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't hope that there is something as bright as her relationship with Dad.
Okay.
She's hoping that there is something that bright in my future as well. Not necessarily just a partner, but something
Brightness.
in my life that gives me that brightness, that gives me that
Yes.
foundation, that cornerstone to build the rest of my life on.
okay,
Yes.
that's why I wanted to ask for clarification, just really
That's
quick.
much better than using the word lonely. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I also, Cole, like, I don't want you to feel like we're picking on you. You just happen to be the single one of us right now.
It's not picking, it's gentle
no.
ribbing.
Because as long as we're on the same page, again, I don't want to shit on anybody.
I don't feel picked on or ribbed.
I think you have been quieter, and I'm a little disturbed by that.
I don't know. I just don't have a whole lot of experience in this realm. I don't know that I've had a fantastic track record when it comes to relationships. And so for me, it's less about playing a numbers game personally and more about get your own shit figured out, and if it finds you, it finds you.
I think it's worth noting, just to kind of change your perspective a little bit. I think if you've had relationships at all, nobody has had a good track record with relationships. That's kind of the name of the game. You know what I mean? Like, if you have dated somebody and you have not married them, you have a track record of a bad relationship, of bad relationships.
Yeah, that's
Well,
I
that's
don't
what
think
they
that's
are.
necessarily true. I think you can have good relationships that don't result in a life partnership.
Right.
I think
But
you
that
can
means your
learn
track
from those
record isn't
things.
great. Agreed. You learn a ton, but that means your track record still isn't great. Because the goal in this specific conversation, in this context, the goal is to have a relationship and remain in that relationship. Marriage, life partner, whatever that looks like for you, fine. But the goal is to sustain that single relationship. So if you've had more than one relationship, your track record is questionable. You're not batting 1,000 if you've had a relationship that has failed.
I really hate that definition, Callie, because I think I'm with Cole that you can have good relationships that give value, that teach you something.
Agreed.
That aren't necessarily negative relationships just because they don't end in marriage.
And I don't the goal isn't marriage.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever it is, the goal is the relationship. So I'm gonna bust into sports here for just a second. In baseball, you have to get up, you have to hit the ball with the bat. Maybe you make it, maybe you strike out, maybe you have a home run, whatever. Not every at bat is a home run. Does it change the fact that there's still a statistic based on every single at bat? That is your track record. And you cannot bat 1,000, which means you've hit every single ball every single time, if you don't ever get up to bat. You can't develop a track record if you don't ever do it.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that if my batting percentage is below 50, I have a worse track record than someone who has a batting average of 500.
Doesn't
And
mean
so-
that you can't still hit a home run.
Sure, but if I have a batting average saying that I hit 2 out of every 100 balls and everything else is strikeouts, I'm probably not going to play in the MLB or play baseball for anyone anymore.
Sure.
Can I just say I'm still back here where Callie used a sports analogy?
I was kind of giggling about that too, because especially of all of the sports that I could have pulled,
Yeah.
baseball
Yeah.
for the three of us was weird. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I felt like it was illustrating my point, and that's why I went with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I got stuck on strikeouts and
Here's the thing: if you've got a baseball player who bats 500 and they very rarely get struck out, but they do get a strikeout, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a bad record.
Correct. I agree.
true.
But it does mean that they have a record. And that record
Yeah.
is not as great as it could be,
Nobody can be perfect.
which is my whole point. The entire point. Nobody can be perfect. Still a record. That was all. But, okay, I'm going to flip this a little bit and move into a weird thought about. I've thought about this a lot in terms of driving out on the road, but I feel like we could translate it to dating as well. What if we had Yelp reviews as human beings?
I'm pretty sure they do.
What? How can I get in on this? And how is mine?
I don't think it took off as well as they anticipated it, but I'm almost certain that there was an app of some kind where, and I think they had it for both sides, where like women who were particularly dating online, large numbers of men could go and leave reviews of their ex-partners for several different categories, like, hey, is he chivalrous and a gentleman? How are they in bed? Is he a liar? Things like this. I don't know that it's still, if it ever really caught on to
Took
be
off,
that
yeah.
popular.
That would
But-
make your dating app totally different.
Totally different, right?
Yes.
Can you imagine, like, okay, you're sitting here swiping on whatever app, you come to this person that you think is interesting, you hop over onto People Yelp, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this person, oh no, this is promising, these are all these reviews from these other people. Okay. I get it.
Okay, now I have to say, Yelp is not always accurate. I
Agreed.
mean, some 2.5 restaurants are really great restaurants. So, and I don't know how you figure that out, but I'm fascinated by this idea.
I mean, this also kind of brings in that thing where you have this level of anonymity in a society that, to me, has some pretty significant issues with critical thinking. And so you now have this ability to sabotage someone else's life because you didn't get exactly what you wanted from them. And I think
Sure.
that is kind of dangerous.
So, yes, I agree. I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm just saying I think it's weird.
I think it's a great idea, and I concede to your point, Cole, that some of those Yelp reviews or dating reviews are going to be crap.
Right. I totally.
You guys know how to read the comments
And
and
interpret
read
them.
the reviews and interpret them.
Right. So
So I think it's a leg up. I mean, it's an advantage to have them there.
I will often be looking at something on Amazon and I'm reading reviews and I immediately go to the 1-star reviews. And if there's a whole bunch of them that are all complaining about the same thing, I ordered this and it came out white or blue or green. And you're like, well, it was red. Like, what were you expecting? Like,
Yeah.
how are you confused here? I can immediately throw those reviews in the trash. Like,
Yeah.
disregard altogether. Well, you ordered the red one and you were confused that it wasn't blue. You should probably learn how to read better. And so I
Yeah.
think that we can then interpret those reviews. But I think that just having them there would be really interesting. I know that I'm weird, okay? But can you imagine, like, what would happen if it made people want to be better? Like, for example, I use my Uber score as my kind of like tell. If my Uber drivers all like me, you guys, my current Uber score after all of these years is a 4.99. And I'm kind of ticked off about it.
You're ticked off
Yeah.
because it's not a 5?
Yeah. What did I do? I want to know. What did I do that I didn't get a perfect score? I am the most, like, fantastic Uber passenger. I read their little profiles. I know what it is that they want from me. I can certainly appease them in those moments. You want to be here in total silence? No problem. I got you. You want to sit here and listen to weird-ass screamo music that is scaring the crap out of me? I have headphones. No problem. You want to sit here and talk about weird facts that you're not sure of? I have all kinds of weird facts and podcast recommendations for you. I had one guy, his little Uber driver bio said something about, I like weird facts and I like knowing them and here's mine. And I don't remember what it was, but I got in the car and I was like, so I heard you like weird facts. Like, did you know that the United States has the largest reserve of helium of any place in the world? And he was like, what? It was like a 45-minute Uber. We had the most fun sitting there chatting and talking about different podcast recommendations and everything, that when we got to my destination, he got out and he was like, do you mind if I give you a hug? This has been the best ride I've ever given.
Well, he didn't give you a .01 then.
Well, he better not have.
That was
And I
probably
have
the
to
guy
say-
that was listening to screamo music and you wouldn't listen. You put your headphones in, so
It
he only
probably
gave you 4
was.
stars.
I
Right.
just have this idea of you stalking some poor Uber driver because they gave you a low rating.
See? But then at least I would know. Okay, he found it rude when I put my headphones in because there's a review there. Callie sucks. She doesn't like my music at all. Then I would know and I could be better. But can you imagine if we had our
Cal.
individual personal Yelp reviews, you could go on and become a better person?
9 out of a 5 is not a bad review.
No, but nobody has a 5. I had the 5 and everybody was shocked that I had a 5 for years. Years and years and years and years.
Oh, this is a recent thing. They must have rounded something. Call Uber. Tell them they rounded
I
wrong.
need to know. I have my hands on my hips right now, and I would like to know the answer. I'm trying to be a better person here, guys. Help me out.
Did you know this about your sister?
Doesn't shock me.
Did you know what? That she likes to be a better person? Oh, gosh. Poor me.
No, that wasn't my question. Boo. He understood.
I did not know that you gave so much credence to the opinions of Uber drivers.
Because what benefit do they have to talk crap about me or to say that I'm a bad person?
Callie, 4 out of 5, that's an 80.
Oh, sure, but that's not an A.
4.99 is, honey.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I'm not upset about it, like for real, for real. It's fun
Sure,
podcast
we can
fodder.
help.
But let me go and make sure that it hasn't been lowered just really quick. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. After every ride, I obsess. No. I'm just kidding. I do not.
And hey, maybe one of them you were with someone else and that was part of it.
We talked about this because Ryan and I had this conversation about a month ago.
Oh,
and
it's
I was
Ryan's fault.
I was like, hey, I want to know what your Uber score is.
And that's the rounding. They've taken Ryan's score and rounded yours. Yeah, it's his fault.
I'll let him know.
Okay.
I'll let him
Tell him
know.
I said.
He'll love that. So I just was thinking about that, and I just feel like it would be so interesting. Dating profile reviews, Yelp reviews of humans. But I am, like I said, I know I'm weird. I want to be better all of the time. And so I use that to my advantage just to find ways to be better. And I just think it would be fascinating.
I don't know. I
like
feel
it.
like that increases the level of transactionality of it, because here's the thing: if you're dating people online and you're giving them 5 out of 5 stars, why are you not together anymore?
I don't think
Well,
that you
and-
would be.
And here's the problem. Nobody gets a 5 from me, Cal.
Why? That sounds like an expectation that you need to drop. You don't do 5s even if they're wonderful?
I mean, they'd have to be exceptional.
And that would be fine. But to automatically walk in with, I don't do 5s, you're
All
a
right.
bad
I
girl.
rarely do 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, well, that's all that I had for today. I just was chatting and I saw that deal about everything changing. Like I said, I'll put a link to it in the show notes because it was just
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I love you, ladies.
I love you
Love you
guys.
guys.
Thanks
We'll
for
see you
chatting
guys
with me
next
about
week.
weird stuff today.
This was a fun one.
Bye.